Imagine waking up one morning to discover a new law has changed everything. Your paycheck is smaller, your rent has skyrocketed, or your privacy no longer exists. This isn't a distant possibility. It's what experts warn could happen to millions of Americans in 2025. Quietly, lawmakers are pushing through reforms that touch every part of daily life, from taxes and healthcare to immigration and justice. Most people won't see the impact until it's too late. That's why in this video, we reveal the 10 laws you must know about right now. Laws that could decide your future. Number 10. Criminal justice policy changes in 2025, significant criminal justice reforms are on the horizon. And while intended to improve safety and efficiency, they could put millions of Americans at risk of harsher outcomes. One of the most notable proposals involves stricter sentencing guidelines for certain offenses, including nonviolent crimes. Advocates argue that these measures will deter repeat offenders, but critics warn that they could lead to overcrowded prisons and disproportionately affect low-income and minority communities. Families already struggling with systemic challenges may find themselves more vulnerable to disruptions caused by extended incarcerations, probation restrictions, and loss of employment opportunities tied to even minor infractions. Research from leading justice reform institutes indicates that mandatory minimums and reduced judicial discretion often fail to address root causes of crime, such as poverty, lack of education, and limited access to health care. Instead, these policies tend to increase incarceration rates without offering meaningful rehabilitation. Stricter bail conditions may also keep more people in jail while awaiting trial, even if they pose no serious threat, simply because they cannot afford release. The impact extends beyond individuals to entire households, where children may grow up without parents and communities lose valuable workers and caregivers. This cycle deepens economic and social instability, widening the gap between privileged and disadvantaged groups. The broader concern is that justice, instead of being balanced, may become increasingly punitive and uneven. Experts emphasize that preparation and awareness are essential. Individuals should familiarize themselves with local laws and know their rights during encounters with law enforcement. Communities can strengthen resilience by supporting legal aid ROOPs, mentorship programs, and initiatives focused on rehabilitation rather than punishment. On a personal level, building connections with trusted community organizations can provide access to resources if legal issues arise. Advocates also encourage citizens to participate in public debates, as policy changes are often shaped by voter engagement and community pressure. These reforms may reshape how justice operates across the nation, and their consequences could affect millions of lives. The direction of criminal justice policy in 2025 will determine whether society moves toward fairness and opportunity or deeper inequality and division. Number 9. Climate energy regulations. In 2025, new climate and energy regulations are set to transform how Americans use power, fuel their homes, and manage everyday expenses. Lawmakers argue these measures are necessary to reduce carbon emissions and promote cleaner technologies. Yet critics warn that the immediate impact could be steep increases in household costs. Stricter efficiency standards for appliances, vehicles, and energy systems may mean families have to replace or upgrade equipment sooner than expected. Rising energy taxes or fees on traditional fuels could also push up the cost of heating, cooling, and transportation, placing additional strain on budgets already stretched by inflation. For millions, the pursuit of sustainability may feel like a direct threat to affordability. Reports from the Energy Department and environmental think tanks highlight that while long-term benefits include cleaner air and renewable innovation, short-term consequences often fall hardest on middle and low-income households. New rules may require businesses to invest in costly compliance measures, which could then be passed down to consumers in the form of higher prices. Gasoline, natural gas, and even electricity could see noticeable price hikes. Rural communities that rely heavily on older vehicles and heating systems may face the steepest challenges, while urban residents may encounter higher housing costs as landlords pass energy upgrade expenses on to tenants. Although framed as environmental progress, The ripple effect of these laws may widen financial inequality and deepen frustration across different regions. Experts recommend households prepare now by adopting strategies to reduce energy consumption and build resilience. Investing in energy-efficient appliances, exploring community solar programs, or sealing and insulating homes can cut bills and reduce vulnerability. Why do price increases? Tracking state-level incentives or federal tax credits for renewable installations like solar panels may also help offset costs. For those unable to make large investments, simple habits such as adjusting thermostats, unplugging and use electronics, and carpooling can still provide savings. Staying updated on regional climate policies is vital, as rules may vary widely depending on location. While the long-term vision of these reforms is sustainability, the immediate reality is one of financial strain, making energy regulation a defining challenge of 2025. Number 8. Employment labor rules. In 2025, major updates to employment and labor laws could significantly impact how millions of Americans work and earn. One of the most debated changes involves the reclassification of gig workers and independent contractors. Policymakers aim to ensure fairer wages and benefits by treating more freelancers as employees, but critics argue this could reduce flexibility, cut opportunities, and increase business costs. Companies that rely heavily on delivery drivers, rideshare workers, and freelancers may respond by limiting contracts or passing costs to consumers. For workers, this law represents both potential protection and new risks, reshaping what it means to participate in the modern job market. According to reports from the Department of Labor, the proposed rules would expand access to benefits such as minimum wage protections, overtime pay, and unemployment insurance. On the surface, this is a step toward fairness. Yet, for many workers who value independence, mandatory employee status could restrict the ability to choose hours, projects, or multiple income streams. Employers may also cut back on part-time or contract opportunities to avoid additional costs, leaving some individuals with fewer chances to earn. These changes may also impact industries like trucking, construction, and creative freelancing, where contract work has long been the norm. The end result could be a more regulated but less flexible labor landscape, creating a mix of security and uncertainty for workers across the country. Practical preparation is essential. Workers who rely on gig income should start exploring ways to diversify earnings, whether by adding part-time employment or creating new income streams. Building awareness of employment rights and tracking updates from labor unions can help individuals understand their protections under new rules. 4. Businesses consulting with legal and financial advisors will be crucial to adapting hiring practices and managing compliance. On a personal level, keeping careful records of work hours, contracts, and payments can safeguard against disputes. Whether seen as progress or a setback, these reforms will redefine the balance between flexibility and protection in the workforce. By anticipating the changes, Americans can better navigate the evolving world of employment law in 2025. Number 7. Surveillance privacy law. In 2025, new surveillance and privacy laws are emerging that could reshape how Americans interact with technology and how much control they retain over their personal data. Policymakers argue that these measures are designed to strengthen cybersecurity and combat threats, such as hacking or foreign interference. However, critics warn that the same laws could give government agencies and private corporations unprecedented access to individual information, from smartphone activity to online purchases and even location tracking. The scope of data collection may expand in ways that most citizens do not fully realize. The fear is that convenience and security are coming at the expense of personal freedom. Reports from digital rights organizations highlight concerns that these laws may reduce transparency around what data is collected and how it is used. Expanded authority could allow companies to share information with government agencies without the consent of the individual. This could include social media interactions, financial transactions, and browsing history. While many Americans have already grown accustomed to targeted advertising, the implications of broader monitoring raise questions about civil liberties. Imagine applying for a job or a loan. only to find that unseen algorithms have influenced your opportunities based on personal data you never agreed to share. The erosion of privacy protections has the potential to reshape not just digital life, but also real-world access to housing, employment, and healthcare. Experts recommend adopting proactive measures to safeguard privacy before these laws fully take hold. Using strong encryption tools, enabling multi-factor authentication, and limiting the amount of personal information shared online are practical steps for individuals. Reviewing privacy policies and opting out of unnecessary data collection where possible can also reduce exposure. Advocacy groups encourage citizens to stay informed and participate in debates about digital rights, as public pressure has historically influenced how these laws are enforced. The message is clear. The balance between security and privacy is shifting, and individuals must take action to protect themselves. In 2025, surveillance law is not just about technology. It is about defining the boundaries of personal freedom in an increasingly connected world. Number 6. Healthcare policy shifts. In 2025, sweeping healthcare policy changes are raising concerns for families and individuals who already struggle with medical expenses. New proposals at the federal level aim to reform insurance marketplaces, but critics warn these shifts could lead to higher premiums, fewer coverage options, and increased out-of-pocket costs. While some lawmakers present these reforms as necessary to balance budgets and streamline systems, the practical outcome may be a heavier financial burden on everyday Americans. For people already coping with rising costs of prescription drugs, doctor visits, and emergency care, these changes could make access to affordable health care even more challenging. Research from multiple public health organizations suggests that millions of Americans could lose access to subsidies that currently lower monthly insurance premiums. Additionally, insurers may be granted greater authority to limit networks, meaning patients could be forced to switch doctors or travel longer distances for care. Rural communities, already underserved, may feel the sharpest effects as fewer providers remain in-network. Meanwhile, pharmaceutical pricing reforms appear stalled, which could allow the cost of life-saving medications to continue climbing. Families living paycheck to paycheck may face impossible choices between paying for medical treatment or covering rent, utilities, and food. The potential rise in medical debt threatens to widen financial inequality and destabilize communities. There are steps households can take to prepare for these possible changes. Experts recommend thoroughly reviewing insurance plans during open enrollment and comparing marketplace options carefully to avoid surprise expenses. Setting aside even a small healthcare emergency fund could reduce stress when unexpected bills arise. Employers offering flexible pending accounts or health savings accounts should be utilized to stretch pre-tax dollars further. Additionally, families should explore state-level programs or nonprofit clinics that may provide affordable services outside of traditional insurance. Staying informed about new regulations through trusted healthcare advocacy groups can also help consumers anticipate shifts before they take effect. While the debate over reform continues, what remains clear is that healthcare policy in 2025 will play a defining role in determining who has access to care and at what cost. Number 5. Social Security reform. In 2025, proposed Social Security reforms are set to ignite widespread debate and could deeply affect millions of Americans who depend on these benefits. Lawmakers argue that changes are necessary to keep the system solvent as the population ages, but the adjustments being discussed may come at a significant cost to retirees, disabled individuals, and future beneficiaries. Among the most talked about proposals are raising the retirement age, altering the formula for benefit calculations, and limiting cost of living adjustments. While such measures may reduce strain on government budgets, they also mean that ordinary people could receive less support at a time when they need it most. Reports from the Social Security Administration warn that the program's trust funds could face depletion within the next decade if no action is taken. In response, policymakers are exploring reforms that would stretch the system's lifespan. However, raising the retirement age effectively forces individuals to work longer, even if their health or job conditions make it difficult. Adjusting benefit formulas could reduce monthly payments for middle-income earners, leaving many struggling to cover essentials like housing, food, and medical care. For younger generations paying into the system, uncertainty grows about whether they will ever see the full benefits they are promised today. The looming sense that a lifetime of contributions might not provide security has created widespread frustration and concern. Experts advise individuals to start preparing now rather than waiting for these reforms to take effect. Strengthening retirement savings plans, such as 401(k), S, or IRAs, can help offset possible reductions in benefits. Exploring options like health savings accounts may also provide added protection against medical expenses in later life. Financial advisors recommend reviewing budgets to identify opportunities for increased savings, even if in small amounts, to build resilience. Staying informed about legislative updates through reliable sources is equally important, as these laws may evolve quickly. While the future of Social Security remains uncertain, proactive planning can make the difference between financial insecurity and stability. For millions of Americans, this issue is more than policy. It is about the promise of dignity and security in their later years. Number 4. Immigration Rule Overhaul. The year 2025 brings sweeping changes to immigration laws that could dramatically reshape the lives of millions of families across the United States. New policies under review are tightening visa requirements, limiting opportunities for family reunification, and expanding the criteria for deportation proceedings. These shifts are being framed as efforts to strengthen border security and reduce system backlogs. But for many, they raise fears of sudden separation, unstable residency, and restricted access to vital services. For households that include both citizens and immigrants, the uncertainty of whether loved ones can legally remain together is becoming a growing source of anxiety and instability. According to research from several immigration policy centers, these reforms may particularly affect workers on temporary visas and families applying for green cards. Shortened renewal periods could force individuals to leave jobs and communities abruptly, while stricter documentation standards might lead to higher rates of application denials. There's also growing concern that the new rules could discourage skilled professionals from pursuing opportunities in the United States, impacting entire industries that rely on immigrant labor. In communities with large immigrant populations, the fear of detention or forced departure disrupts not only families but also schools, local businesses, and healthcare systems. These ripple effects extend well beyond those directly targeted, creating a climate of uncertainty that can fracture community trust. For families navigating this new environment, preparation and knowledge are key. Consulting with immigration attorneys or accredited representatives can help clarify rights and options under the updated laws. Staying connected with verified community organizations may provide access to resources such as legal aid, housing support, and translation services. It is also important to maintain thorough documentation of residency, employment, and family relationships, as these records may be critical during reviews or legal proceedings. While the broader debate over immigration will continue to spark controversy, individuals and families must act proactively to safeguard their future. These reforms demonstrate how quickly a change in policy can alter the course of everyday life, making immigration law one of the most sensitive and consequential issues for Americans in 2025. Number 3. Student loan repayment mandates. In 2025, the return of student loan repayment mandates is expected to place an enormous burden on millions of borrowers across the United States. After years of pauses and temporary relief measures, many Americans now face the reality of monthly payments resuming under stricter terms. What makes this law particularly concerning is the shift toward shorter repayment timelines and reduced opportunities for forbearance or deferment. For graduates juggling low wages, high rent, and rising living costs, these new obligations could tip the scales from financial stability into overwhelming debt stress. Imagine graduating with dreams of building a career, only to be met with a bill that consumes a large portion of your paycheck before you've even established yourself. Reports from major education finance institutions highlight that the average borrower carries more than $30,000 in student debt, and for graduate students, that figure is often far higher. With interest rates climbing, these repayment mandates mean that debt will grow faster, making long-term payoff more difficult. Additionally, the changes threaten to limit eligibility for income-driven repayment plans, a program that once offered relief by capping payments based on earnings. Without these safety nets, borrowers may be forced into default more quickly, resulting in damaged credit scores, wage garnishments, and restricted access to future financial opportunities such as mortgages or small business loans. This ripple effect could dampen economic growth and create long-lasting instability for younger generations. Borrowers are not powerless, however. Experts strongly recommend taking proactive steps before the full effect of these laws is felt. Reviewing loan servicer accounts, consolidating multiple loans where possible, and applying for any available forgiveness or a C. Stance programs are essential first moves. Exploring side income streams or negotiating repayment plans directly with lenders could also provide breathing room. Awareness is equally important. Keeping track of updates from the Department of Education and verified financial counselors can help borrowers make smarter decisions. While the law may create new obstacles, preparation and strategy can soften the impact. The stakes are high, and for many, understanding these student loan changes could mean the difference between staying afloat and falling into a cycle of debt. Number 2. Tax changes on middle-class families. One of the most pressing concerns in 2025 is the wave of tax reforms that could directly affect the middle class. While these laws are often framed as adjustments to make the system fairer, many analysts argue that households earning modest incomes may face higher liabilities than before. Under proposed legislation, reduced deductions and shrinking tax credits could mean that families already coping with rising costs for food, housing, and healthcare may see more of their paycheck disappear. For millions, the promise of financial relief could instead transform into the reality of heavier tax burdens, forcing them to rethink spending and saving habits just to keep up. Experts from several economic policy organizations have warned that these changes may disproportionately target families in the income brackets between $50,000 and $120,000 annually. For example, the potential removal or reduction of child tax credits would directly affect parents who depend on these savings to cover childcare or school expenses. Similarly, caps on mortgage interest deductions could discourage homeownership, especially for first-time buyers struggling with inflated property prices. The shift in corporate and high-earner tax structures may sound promising, but in practice, the middle-income group often shoulders the heaviest adjustments when such policies are implemented. With household debt levels already climbing, any added pressure could destabilize financial security. There are practical measures families can take to prepare. Financial planners recommend conducting an early tax assessment before new rules take effect, reviewing withholding allowances, adjusting retirement contributions, and keeping careful track of deductible expenses can help mitigate surprises. Seeking advice from certified tax professionals may provide valuable strategy, i.e. for navigating changes, especially as tax codes grow more complex. Families should also explore options for emergency funds or alternative investment plans to create a cushion against unexpected financial hits. While tax laws evolve every year, 2025 could be a turning point where knowledge and preparation make the difference between staying afloat and struggling under new obligations. By staying informed and proactive, the middle class can minimize risks and retain greater control over their financial future in the face of these looming tax shifts. Number 1. Housing eviction reform. Across the United States, housing laws are undergoing significant changes in 2025, and these shifts could put millions of families at serious risk. Lawmakers are reviewing proposals that would allow landlords greater flexibility in adjusting rent and streamlining the eviction process. While supporters argue this creates a more competitive market, Critics warn it may result in faster evictions for tenants who fall even slightly behind on payments. Imagine the impact on households already stretched thin by rising inflation, medical bills, and stagnant wages. The fear of losing a roof over one's head could become a daily reality for ordinary families. Research from several housing policy institutes highlights that eviction rates have already surged in major metropolitan areas, particularly where rental assistance programs have expired. With the introduction of stricter timelines for late rent and fewer opportunities to contest evictions, renters may find themselves with less legal protection than before. This means a single missed paycheck, an unexpected car repair, or a sudden health emergency could lead to devastating consequences. For families with children, the stress of relocation can disrupt schooling, mental health, and the stability of everyday life. Homeowners are not immune either, as changes in foreclosure laws may accelerate repossession timelines for those struggling with mortgage arrears. Practical steps are critical. Experts recommend that households begin preparing now by building a financial safety net, no matter how small. Tenants should also become familiar with local tenant unions or housing support services, which may offer legal aid or emergency assistance. For homeowners, consulting with a housing counselor could provide strategies to negotiate with lenders before falling into default. While these measures cannot eliminate the risks entirely, they can reduce vulnerability in uncertain times. The essential message is awareness. Families who stay informed about policy changes will be better positioned to adapt and protect their homes. The debate surrounding these laws will continue, but their impact could be immediate and life-altering for millions, making housing reform one of the most urgent issues in America today. The year 2025 is shaping up to be one of the most pivotal moments in recent American history. The laws we've explored today, from housing reforms and tax shifts to immigration rules and surveillance policies, are more than just political talking points. They represent real changes that could directly affect where families live, how much they earn, the privacy they enjoy, and the future security they rely on. For millions of Americans, these are not distant hypotheticals. They are immediate risks that demand awareness and preparation. Each of these 10 laws carries unique challenges. Some could raise the cost of daily living, others could limit opportunities, and a few might even erode basic freedoms. Yet, understanding them is the first step to reducing vulnerability. Knowledge provides the tools to adapt, prepare, and take action when it matters most. Whether it's building a financial safety net, reviewing insurance options, or engaging in community support, small steps today can lessen the impact of sweeping reforms tomorrow. At its core, this discussion isn't just about policy. It's about people. Every law affects households, workplaces, and communities in ways that statistics alone can't capture. By staying informed and proactive, individuals have a better chance of protecting their future and helping shape a fairer system. The road ahead may be uncertain, but awareness is power. And in 2025, that power will matter more than ever. Which of these 10 laws worries you the most? Share your thoughts below. We read every comment carefully. If you found this valuable, don't miss our previous video for more insights. We pour enormous effort into bringing you these breakdowns, so please support us by subscribing. It's just one click, and it makes all the difference.